This is Women Driving the Industry with Shyann Malone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Women Driving the Industry. I'm your host, Shyann Malone, and today we have a very special guest, Veronica Dunford. Welcome.
Thank you.
Veronica is a veteran in the automotive industry, mother of three, partner of the organization Women in Automotive. So welcome to the show. I know you have a huge, crazy schedule, as all of us, right, these days. You're very busy, but thanks so much for taking the time out to join us today. We really want to just talk to you a little bit about your journey, right? We don't see a lot of women in this industry. We're seeing more, but you have been in it for years. Tell us about how you got to where you are today in your path.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Actually, it's a misnomer. There are a lot of women in the industry. It's just, like you said, we don't see them. And unfortunately, the ones that are here, they don't typically stay. There's no lack of women. So essentially, that's what our goal is with Women in Automotive, is to help mentor them, train them, retain them.
Why don't they stay?
Lack of support, lack of community, and crazy schedules. Like you said, I have a crazy schedule. The industry historically has been not very friendly to a woman's schedule.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you could argue that across several different industries, right? What makes it different and unique in automotive where you do see people taking an exit because they just couldn't get things worked out?
Well, it is typically a 7-day a week work week, and it's, as we call it lovingly, bell to bell, opening bell to closing bell. And in some states, such as California, where I came from originally, that bell to bell is 6 a.m. to midnight to 24 hours.
Wow. Tell us about your journey. Did you do that bell to bell?
I sure did. And ironically, most people don't realize I actually dipped my toe in the pool 35 years ago. Well, 36 now, because I just went around the sun a week ago. It was in a Chevrolet dealership, ironically. I started out in sales, and I sold a specific model of car more than any of the men. I was the only female that wasn't in the business office. I sold 7 cars in 1 week.
Wow.
Which was unheard of back then. And I was told at the end of my training period, as they decided to call it, that because I was training, I wasn't going to be paid.
Wow. No commission on 7 cars.
Nope. And because it was car sales, a commissionable pay period or pay plan, I didn't get paid at all for the entire time I worked there, which was a month.
Wow.
My training was the first 2 weeks. So I was very burned out by what I called a boys' club and what is commonly referred to as the automotive industry, a boys' club.
That lasted a month. Where'd you go from there?
Out of the industry. I ended up in investment banking, business development. I helped a group of investors build businesses. I did that for a lot of years. I got into motorcycles because I'm an avid motorcyclist. And from there, I didn't get back into automotive until 2008. And boy, I didn't want to do it.
What drew you back in?
I actually had a client that was in the web space.
Okay.
And a friend of mine called me and was all excited. He had just gone to work for a Ford store in Southern California. Hey, I know you're in the area. I know you've got this client. Can you help them out? They were on the second page of Google, and they were the #1 store in Southern California. 2 counties. Well, I wasn't going to bother my client with it. So I stopped in, had a meeting with the owner of the dealership, and I quickly found out the easiest way to sell a car dealer, one of the owners, tell them no. And it wasn't intentional. It was, they made me wait for 4 hours, kept coming in, going out, coming in, going out. want to give me the time of day, but ultimately wanted to hear what I had to say. So asked me to come back the next day, set a check in front of me and said, okay, I want to hire you. To run their websites and fix their SEO. And I was like, wait a minute, I already have a job. I don't need another job. Well, we want to hire you. So they hired me as a consultant. And I quickly found out that the automotive industry was like a drug. Only job I ever got fired from 3 times. Because they were determined they wanted me to work in sales. I was determined I wasn't going to. So I became like family to the dealership I worked at. In the end, they won. I did sales, but I never stood on the line.
Okay. And that was in 2008 when you came back to automotive. Now we're in 2024. What kept you there? At the beginning, you talked about, there are women in the industry, but they just don't stay with it. What kept you with it?
In automotive?
Mm-hmm.
Well, with the sales job, I didn't really do sales at first. I did marketing for them. I ultimately ended up in sales, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't stand on the line. I ended up running a BDC back before BDC was the new buzzword. I trained, as I called them, 19 boys, most of them older than me, on how to do white glove service, sell cars to people over the internet, and sight unseen deliveries and sales. It was rewarding. It was thrilling. Financially, it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the people I worked for, still to this day. When I left there the final time, I ended up working for the technology partner that provided their DMS. And I stayed there for 12 and a half years.
Wow.
The dealership I worked for became a client up until the day I left. And I just saw them at NADA this past January and February, and still treated like family. So it's a very incestuous business and industry, but it's a very rewarding industry. Much more than any one I've ever been in.
You've compared it to a drug. So tell me how you became an addict. What kept you in so deep and so long?
It definitely financially is rewarding if you find the right spot, if you find the right niche that you fill. So being in dealership, retail, if you're good at it, you stay. If you're not good at it, you're always thriving to be better. If you're lazy, you get pushed out. If you're just looking for a quick fix, you'll never stay. But if you're good at it, you'll never leave.
Tell us about some of the financial benefits that you have been able to do, things that you could do for your family that, in other words, maybe you wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for these types of jobs.
Well, most people that know me well, I have a disabled parent and brother.
Okay.
And it's allowed me to financially care for them most of my adult life.
Wow.
Although time consuming, like I said, I did do bell to bell. I lived 60 miles from the dealership, and I would leave at 7 a.m. and sometimes not get home till midnight. Wow. But I was able to provide them a wonderful existence, and I still do to this day.
Kudos to you. Hats off for sure. You have 3 adult children?
They are adult children. I just had my 6th grandbaby a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations. How does that play a factor, right? So many times, often, women want to climb to the top and they have all these goals and you're career driven. And as you said, it's sometimes impossible to have a family or balance it all. How did you maintain that?
Well, luckily for me, I was older by the time I got into the automotive industry the second time, and my kids were already old enough to sustain themselves for the most part. My kids are in their 30s. They are all happily married and having children with successful lives of their own now. A parent's dream.
Yes.
I'm one of the lucky ones where I'm very good friends with my ex-husband. He's a phenomenal individual. We just didn't do the marriage thing right.
Mm-hmm.
But we all get along phenomenally. And we parent wonderfully. My children are adopted, or so you can say they're adopted. They are my stepchildren from my marriage.
Okay.
It's a more pleasant way to say they're adopted than just call them stepchildren,
Sure.
because they've been with me for 35 years,
Okay.
34 years.
Awesome.
And I think they're mine as much as anybody else's.
Absolutely. During your journey, obviously it wasn't always, butterflies and rainbows. Talk about any struggles and how you were able to overcome them.
Well, yes, I say it's a drug and I love this industry, but you're right, it was a struggle in the beginning. When I got back into the industry, the first time I actually sold a car for the dealership, I was the only female, again, for the second time,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't in the business office. And we were in San Diego, the second dealership. And my boss, actually in front of everyone, told me the only way I could sell a car is if I went across the street and bought thigh highs and heels.
Wow. What was your response?
I'm not sure your editor's good enough to take that off the screen, but let's just say I didn't do it and I sold the car and continued selling cars from that day forward. And I never wore a skirt to work.
What motivated you?
Being told I couldn't do it. I am the poster child for reverse psychology. You tell me I can't do anything and I'm darn sure going to prove you wrong. My mom and dad always told me I could do anything I set my mind to. And so far I've been able to do it.
Here you are doing it.
Yes.
What advice do you give to others?
I give a lot of advice, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's good, some of it's, a little risky. But for the most part, my biggest piece of advice is find your why. If you find your why, you'll find a reason to love what you do, and then it'll never feel like a job. It'll feel more like your lifestyle and a reason to do what you do. Because I've always been blessed to enjoy what I've done. I've never dreaded going to work every day, no matter what job I had, because I've always found a why.
I like that. What you do now, Women in Automotive, your partnership there, what do you provide? And going forward, what are you looking for in the future? What are your goals?
Women in Automotive is such a wonderful organization. I've been part of the organization for 10 years, since its very first conference. We're actually celebrating its 10th anniversary this year at our annual conference. It's going to be super exciting. I was always there. I became a board member several years ago. And then 2 years ago this month, this coming up month on the 8th, I was presented with the opportunity to purchase the company. So I'm approaching my 2-year anniversary as the owner, now partner, because I brought in partners a couple months after I purchased it. And it is a community. It's a place to give mentorship to others. We have a once a year annual conference. We're doing regional events around the country, so more people can get together and have that community that is so important to bring that support to more women and men. that's key. If we don't get more men in our conversation and let them realize that they don't have to give up their man card to support women in the industry, then we're never going to change the narrative. So we're doing that. And just this month, we have started a nonprofit as well, so that we can actually do more scholarships and like not schooling, but training, and have more resources available for people to get education on DE&I and what they need for their jobs or to advance their career.
You talk about support, and especially in that community. Did you have that?
I did. I was blessed in my previous job at Deloitte that my boss, who was also one of my mentors, made sure that I had a business coach. And so for us at Women in Automotive, that's the pillar we stand on, is mentorship. Not everyone can afford a business coach like I was provided. And so we give back by all of our executives in Women in Automotive are mentors. They got where they got by having business coaches and mentors in the industry. I think I'm the anomaly where I didn't have women in my life that helped me advance my career ever until now. My partner in Women in Automotive, one of them, we have male and female on our board. We're 50-50. And I have 2 partners, but we are board led, So one of my partners, I looked at her as a mentor to me. She probably doesn't realize it until she watches this video, but she mentors me every day. She's always there for me. She recognizes when I'm struggling with anything, and she always reaches out and says, okay, let me help. Here's what you need. Here's what you need to do better, without even my having to ask. She's phenomenal. I couldn't have asked for a better partner. And then Gary May is also one of our partners in the business itself. He owns his own company also. But we rely on our board for the most part, and they are all mentors. We allow other mentors. They are vetted. And it's just a phenomenal thing when we had our conference last year and we had people lining up to win mentorships in our system.
They can be invaluable for sure. Share with us some of your proudest moments in life and in your career.
Oh, wow. I think in my career, probably one of my proudest moments was watching our conference last year take off, because buying the company was frightening, not knowing if it was going to be successful. And then the culmination of it actually happening, and the reception we got from everyone in the industry on how amazing it was. That was probably one of the best. Personally, I think one of the proudest moments for me, when I would also have to be in business, but it was about me when I won an award from Auto Success and I had no idea it was coming.
What was the award for?
Women at the Wheel.
That's awesome.
I didn't even know it was a thing. And so that was pretty exciting.
As far as the future, Any goals? Where do you want to see Women in Automotive, the company, growing? I'm assuming, but how so? What are your goals?
Well, for us, we've recently launched our nonprofit. I think I mentioned that. And we also keep our for-profit, one for the conference and then one for all our resources. And I think the future is when we have reached a point that, one, it's a household name in the industry, and we become the known resource for anything when it comes to women. And we can reach more than 26% women in this industry.
Hefty goals.
Well, I mean, inch by inch, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It can
Baby
be accomplished for sure. I feel like you're the woman to do it if it's going to happen. You seem like you're driven and really passionate behind it. You mentioned that often as well. Women in the industry currently, or maybe wanting to get in the industry, what words of wisdom do you have there?
Run. No, I'm just kidding. Well, one, join us, because there's so many variables inside Women in Automotive. There's so many people that look like, talk like, act like each one. We have entry level to executive. We have people from body shops, from OEMs, from third parties, from dealerships, technicians, you name it. Mm-hmm. They're in our program. So if you're looking for someone to reach down and pull you up, you're going to find it with us. Other than that, find a mentor. Find someone that can help you along the way, be it a man or a woman, because some women relate better to men. But most of all, make sure that you're also that person that is helping others up along the way. Don't be that person that has to scratch and claw your way up so you don't want someone up there alongside you.
Any final thoughts for us today?
Well, if anyone needs any assistance in finding your way or finding your career path or helping with your career path, just reach out. We're here and we want to help.
Sounds like an incredible resource for sure. Thanks so much for your time today, Veronica. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks for watching Women Driving the Industry with Shyann Malone.